provide for both the livelihoods and, of course, for adventure. But what is also is clear that there are multiple water crises ongoing in our state, threatening all of this, from Piney Point to red tide, from blue-green algae to, unfortunately, manatee deaths. We just had an opportunity to go out into this water that's normally crystal clear and beautiful, and unfortunately, it's dark, and there's dead fish all over the waterways. But we know that we know how to fix this, and we know how to get in front of this. And to make sure that these communities continue to thrive means that we all have to work together to make sure that this doesn't happen and that we're cleaning up our waters, and it's each of our personal responsibilities to take positive action. Too often, our efforts to protect our environment get caught up in partisan politics, with people focusing on finger pointing when what we need is everybody to be coming together. I came into office with a commitment to further clean water efforts in our state, and today I am here to announce what we have been working hard at the Department of Agriculture for the last 2.5 years and are ready to roll out today. We are rewriting the rules when it comes to agriculture water policy in the state, taking landmark action to increase accountability, transparency, and of course, coordination. When I first came into office, Florida's Agriculture Best Management Practices, otherwise known as BMPs program, had not been updated in over a decade. I think we all can agree that a lot has changed since 2008, and our policies should reflect the times, utilizing the latest research, data, and technologies that are available. As part of our Clean Water Initiative, the Office of Agriculture Water Policy is revamping and reinventing its program to ensure high levels of effectiveness. This includes common sense changes like prioritizing high-value projects with our cost share program to get the greatest bang for the bucks of our farmers, as they are the greatest stewards of our land, and continue to employ more efficient nutrient and water usage practices. We're also focusing on supporting multifaceted practices such as cover crops and no-till drills that additionally provide significant climate mitigation and carbon sequestration benefits. For the first time ever, the Florida Department of Agriculture is conducting in-person visits in cooperation with our agriculture stakeholders rather than relying on voluntary self-reporting when it comes to compliance. For the first time ever, we will be taking action against those refusing to comply with state law to ensure that best management practices are being properly implemented. For the first time ever, we will be working with producers on corrective action plans and refer cases of non-compliance to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for enforcement. And for the first time ever, the department is inspecting, collecting, and aggregating detailed records of the nutrients being applied by agriculture producers on the production landscape to increase accountability, transparency, and provides the data necessary to inform decisions based on strong science. Through our Clean Water Initiative, we are also increasing the transparency of the state's agriculture water programs while also increasing the coordination with the public, stakeholders, and agriculture industry and our agency partners. This is being done through enhanced education and training outreach, with our department providing online and in-person resources to make our agriculture water programs more accessible. Because of truly impact change, we know it takes collaboration among all of our stakeholders, from individuals to our research partners like MOTE and UF-IFAS, to local governments and our coordinating agencies like the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. From starting at zero when I came into office to where we are here today making this announcement of the Office of Agriculture Water Policy Clean Water Initiative, we have come a long way to make these landmark changes. And I want to thank my team for working for this for the past 2.5 years to get us to where we are today. But we know the work is not done. But I am proud to have our department stand up and take concrete action to promote clean water in our state when no other department has. I'd now like to turn it over to Mayor Brody to speak to the water challenges impacting his city. And thank you again, Mayor, for the work that you are done along with our partners like Moat Marine and others fighting for Florida's future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner. It means a lot just for you to be here, shedding light on this tremendous challenge for our community. I also want to thank Moat Marine, obviously, for all the work that you do, not only for our community, but for the state, nation, and world. You know, our community is keenly aware of the impact that red tide has on our state and our city. It's saddening to see so much loss of marine life and damage to these habitats because of these algae blooms. As a coastal community, the impact to our quality of life is real, it's swift, and it's devastating. The economic impact is just as bad. We all remember and have high anxiety from the algae bloom just a few years ago. It was historic in size and nature and lasted for over a year. Business was affected, people lost their jobs, our tourism industry was devastated, and it took a whole season away from our local economy. We know that red tide is naturally occurring, but we also know that our byproducts, human byproducts, contribute to its severity. Also, as a coastal community, we have a heightened sense of responsibility and duty to ensure that water that makes its way into our bays and estuaries is as clean and nutrient-free as it can possibly be. That's why we're investing, the city of Sarasota is investing millions of dollars to restore natural habitats and naturally filtering wetlands in our stormwater plan and on our public properties. I can tell you between two projects, the Bobby Jones water quality improvements and renovation project and the New Bay Park project, we are instituting water quality improvements that will filter out over 1,000 pounds of nitrates and phosphates out of almost 2.6 billion gallons of water that flows through those properties from about 6,000 acres of watershed. I want to close by thanking Moat Marine for leading the way in our scientific understanding of these blooms and for your commitment to advancing evidence-based solutions. As Moat looks to the future in its plans to expand this facility, this research facility here in the city of Sarasota, I want to pledge our full support in helping you achieve your dreams and your goals for the betterment of our entire community. Thank you all.
And before I close with questions, I'm going to be giving a COVID update. And these are our latest numbers that we have. 21,683 new daily COVID-19 cases was reported over the weekend, the highest point ever in the state of Florida. It is 21% of all cases nationwide. Long lines at testing sites as demand increases, so numbers are likely going to get worse than have been reported. 10,207 daily hospital admissions, the highest point ever in this COVID pandemic, was reported over the weekend. Miami-Dade and Broward are seeing also the highest level of admissions nationwide. 66 of 67 of our counties are listed as having high levels of community transmission. Glades County is listed as having substantial levels of community transmission. The CDC recommends fully vaccinated people wear masks in public indoor settings and substantial or high transmission areas, which unfortunately is the entire state of Florida. Last week, we also saw an increase in vaccine admissions from 334,000 doses from 288,000 the week before, with over 10 million Floridians now fully being vaccinated. And that is the hope, that more and more people are listening to this message and going out and getting vaccinated. However, it is 2:30 on Monday, and we still, as of today, as of right this second, do not have updated numbers from the weekend and from Monday. Governor, Department of Health, what are you waiting for? It is time, Governor, to issue an emergency order. The people of our state need this information. We should be going back to daily reporting. Can you imagine, we live in the state of Florida, that we know a hurricane is coming, and we know that we have to evacuate, but we don't know where the evacuation zones are. We don't know exactly the tracking of this hurricane. We don't know the strength or severity of it, that we are left completely in the dark. That is exactly what is happening right now, which is why daily I'm trying to give as much information to the public. We know how to beat this. We know how to get in front of this to slow down the spread. I am pleading with Floridians who have not gotten the vaccine, go out today, get the vaccine. If you know people that have not been vaccinated in your community, in your workforce, in your home, have those real conversations. We know the numbers are starting to tick up as well with our under 18 not only testing positive, but also ending up in our hospitals. We're hearing reports all over the state of Florida that hospital beds are packed and they're sending patients away that are in need of critical health care. We know how to get in front of this. Go get the vaccine. Make sure you're masking up indoors when you and socially distancing when you have the capability to do so. Go back to making sure you're cleaning your hands, and make this fun for your children. Put different cartoon characters on their masks. Go get their favorite Pokemon and have the real conversations with your kids about how important it is to be masking up. So again, I'm asking our governor to please declare a state of emergency so our state can stand up more testing and more vaccination sites using federal dollars. And again, our governor and the Florida Department of Health should be giving daily reporting numbers. It's 2:30 on Monday. We have nothing reported since Friday. And the governor should be doing what I'm doing, promoting vaccines, going across our state, having these real conversations with our communities, that their numbers are through the roof, especially in our rural communities. Not tying the hands of our local governments and our local school boards, who are just trying to do right by their people. We know that we got in front of COVID last year and were able to slow down the spread because our local governments and our local businesses stepped up to the plate to protect the citizens of our state. I'm asking our local governments and our local businesses to do the same again today. And I know that so many of our corporate partners across the state have been stepping up, asking for masks to be placed when you're walking into their facilities. So again, I applaud our local governments, our school boards, and our corporations who are stepping up. Get vaccinated today. There are no lines for vaccinations. They're readily accessible. Talk to your doctor. Make sure that you know exactly where to get the vaccine and go get it done. This is going to save our lives, it can save our healthcare system, and it's going to ultimately save our economy. At this point, we'll take questions.
Commissioner, where do you get your numbers from? Are you allowed to get Florida state numbers, or do you get them from where everybody else gets?
We get them from the CDC. So we are in constant communication with the CDC as well as the White House's task force, COVID-19 task force. But we also know that all of those numbers come from the Department of Health. And so that is where we're having to rely on that information is from the CDC. And so until which time the Department of Health releases their numbers to the CDC, we don't have ours.
Congressman, on water quality, Congressman Buchanan had a roundtable this morning. He was asked if he believes there need to be more regulations. He said no, we just need to really enforce the current ones. That's also a DEP official said something along the same lines. What do you say to that?
Well, obviously, yes and no. It's a mixed bag. So this is why we're doing what we're doing. That last year, a new piece of legislation was passed with new authority into the Department of Agriculture, and so we are taking that authority. That's why we're implementing new rules, including making sure that we are going out into on-site visits, making sure that we are collecting the data and being able to turn it over. And a big showing of why I say yes and no is prior to me being in office, the way that the program always works is that Department of Agriculture updates our best management protocols, which is then authorized by DEP. We then spend the time enrolling and enlisting our agricultural partners into the program. When they are not complying, we then send them over to DEP for enforcement. So DEP has got the enforcement leg of all of this. Prior to me, can we guess how many were sent over to DEP? 0. Since taking office, 6,600. Showing a huge difference in just a small period of time. But now it's on to DEP to start with the enforcement. So it's a mixed bag. So yes, we need to follow the rules that have obviously not been followed over the last decade, but also knowing that there are some loopholes that were in place that hopefully now with our new rules we're getting around.
Commissioner, being on this boat tour today, how concerning is it to see what you're seeing out there and smelling what you're smelling out there?
It's heartbreaking. You know, it's heartbreaking because I was out here in 2018 as well and talked to so many of our local fisheries and fishermen and charters and hotel and restaurants, and knowing the impact on the local communities, as the mayor was saying, that these communities rely on this industry. And if we aren't doing everything possible to protect this industry, it's not only the beautiful waterway that we all living in Florida love to come to, but the people that come here and the different businesses. So being on the water today, we didn't smell too much, but right now you're starting to see some of the fish starting to decay and dying in there. And obviously as you go a little bit north, you see a lot more of the impact. And unfortunately, we know that that's coming south. And so we've got to get in front of this. And so hopefully, people are heeding caution and we're taking affirmative steps. I've also called on the governor to have an emergency order put in place here as well, so that it's not just utilizing our local resources for the cleanup efforts, but we're using all of our state resources, our state scientists to combat this and make sure there's not such a burden on our local governments and communities as they're going through this red tide.
Mr. Mayor, are you and the county getting enough money from the state to help mitigate and clean up your issues down here?
We could always use more help. Obviously, we're starting to see the number of dying fish, starting to gather in our canals, and I'm nervous about it. I don't want to see those, clumps of fish start to decay and further fuel red tide. That's one of the concerns that not only we have, but our community has as well. We're going to be taking a look at, over the next couple of days, some ways to step up our cleaning efforts, not just for our shoreline and beaches, but also looking at our waterways to do so as well. But any help, obviously, we can get from the state and our county on that is very much appreciated. And I wanted to mention one thing about the water quality issue you said. Right now, the federal government is looking at an infrastructure bill. It is critically important that infrastructure bill has money for local governments to help replace aging water infrastructure and wastewater infrastructure. That's one of our most expensive but also most necessary projects that we are continually trying to upgrade. And it's tough as a local government official to balance the need to make those improvements with the cost of living increases that you see, putting all of those improvements on the backs of our ratepayers.
Commissioner, during that roundtable earlier today with Congressman you mentioned that this is a bipartisan issue, red tide, that Democrats and Republicans are working together on this. Do you agree with that, or do you think that this is a political issue?
Our water should never be a political issue. We all live here. We all drink water. We all go onto the waterways. This can't be a political issue. We've got to always be working together. And so we will continue to do so. And certainly that's something that has been a big part of my administration, is working together, because it's not just one thing that's causing the red tide. Unfortunately, we know that a big part of this red tide and the timing of this and the location of it is because of Piney Point. And so it's got to be a bipartisan, and everybody needs to take their partisan hats away and do what's right for the people and for our environment.
What would you say, in regards to red tide, in regards to water quality on the state level, is not being done right now that should be happening right now?
Resources, not only for testing like here at MOAT and UF and IFAS and new different types of research, ideas about, we know what's causing some of the red tide, how to get in front of it. We know that it's naturally caused, but we also know that humans are exacerbating the situation. And so what are those things that we could be doing on the front end? How do we clean it up when it's here? All of those things water projects that need to be done on the land, including agriculture doing its part, which is why we're here today to step up our part in fixing this problem. Because if we don't take collective efforts today, and we can't keep putting Band-Aids on it. We were talking earlier that we have a tendency here in the state to, okay, we see a red tide, let's quickly fix it this time around. Or we had Piney Point, let's clog the hole right now, and not talk about the holistic problem that's happening. What's happening with the rest of the stacks that's across our state? How are we working on preventing more stacks from even coming online? So we need to be having a more holistic approach, including Lake Okeechobee and what we're doing with the blue-green algae coming of Lake O. And so until we take a holistic, systematic approach to it, we're going to keep continuously throwing money after money into small problems and not spending and not looking at it from a holistic perspective.
You talked about the 6,600 complaints, was it, that you forwarded on to FDACS?
It's not complaints. What it is that when we find one of our agriculture producers that is not complying with our BMP program, either that they just haven't given us the information or that they are just not doing what they're supposed to, we then refer them over to Department of Environmental Protection for enforcement.
And then what kind of follow-through do you have with that? Is that it? walk away?
No. We continuously communicate with DEP, seeing where they are. Unfortunately, we have not seen as much action as I would hope. We haven't, so this is something also to put pressure on DEP to do their part in all of this, because this is a partnership. You know, we enroll, we go out and validate, and then we send it over to DEP for enforcement. But if the enforcement arm of this program doesn't work or is not utilizing its strength, then the program doesn't have any, has no teeth to it and has no effectiveness. So we need our partners like the DEP to actually step up, do their part, and show enforcement.
And how do you make them do that?
You all. It's the public. It's the public outcries and demanding action from DEP. I only have so much power inside the Department of Agriculture to this issue, but it is up to the people. It's up to our communities, our small business owners who are being closed down or seeing their business decline because of red tide. It's our fishermen who are out in the waterways every single day, seeing dead fish and seeing dead manatees, and showing consolidated support for enforcement. And so it is up to the people of our state to step up and demand action. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.